Hi, welcome to Civil Discourse Now. My name is Mark Small. I'm co-host with Paul Ogden.
You, Mark?
Paul, how are you today?
I'm doing fine.
You already told me that earlier.
I did tell you that earlier.
Well, hey, we are coming to you from Big Hat Books in Broad Ripple. It's a section of Indianapolis on the north side, 6510 Cornell Avenue. Big Hat Books has an excellent selection of books. It has space where you can rent also for various occasions, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, what have you. And it's an excellent place.
Thank you, Mark. The show is Civil Discourse Now, where we have a civil discussion of local, state, national, and international issues. It is a show where we try not to talk over each other, where we try to have a civil discussion, hopefully intellectual discussion on occasion, sometimes not with Mark, but about the issues. And today we have our guest, Mark.
Our guest is David Lumley. David is a financial advisor affiliated with Raymond James Financial Services. He holds chartered financial analyst and certified financial planner designations.
That's correct.
He has a Bachelor in Science degree and also a Bachelor of Arts degrees, both from Purdue University. And I notice on your resume you don't list Purdue University.
That was a mistake on my part. That was it was not meant to be. Let's put it that way.
Purdue University is omitted from your resume the way it is from
That's a veto on a resume.
From the history of, as it is from the history of National Collegiate Athletic Association basketball champions, men's division.
Okay,
right?
very good.
There goes our Purdue viewers.
Yeah, there it comes right in. Okay, how many seats are there exactly in Mackey Arena? 14,123. We're on here today to talk to Dave about things that aren't humorous. I mean, the financial situation generally of the United States and the financial situation in the world. Dave, in terms of the national financial situation, I know that's kind of an open-ended thing.
Extremely.
But we kind of had narrowed things down before we got on the air. What's it like in the United States right now financially?
If you have a job, if you're one of the fortunate 90% who do have jobs, corporations in general are making money, and they are profitable. Their earnings are not necessarily skyrocketing, but the economy appears to be on a reasonably solid footing. Having said all of that, if you take a look, the basic unemployment rate is 9%, roughly thereabouts, and then you have another roughly 7% of the population who is either marginally employed or has given up, so that gets you to 16%. And then you can probably throw in the next 4% of the population because they're not making a whole heck of a lot of money. So if you are in that bottom 20%, you're not doing particularly well. And that's one of the topics of discussion throughout the United States, specifically dealing with income inequality. If you go back 30 years, 8% of the income in this country was earned by the top 1%. And today that figure is 27%. And when you consider that there are a larger and larger number of people who are sliding into the lower 25%, you end up with some form of social unrest, and in the form of Occupy Wall Street. And this is disconcerting to a lot of people here in the United States. They feel as though they've been left behind. And consequently, you do see people in Wall Street and elsewhere around the country who are protesting the gross income disparities between everybody in the top 1%.
I saw an interesting thing on television this week. It wasn't on television, it was went to see a movie. And they've got the stuff that they fill in time with before a flick comes on. I don't know why they've stopped doing the trailers like they used to in coming attractions, or why they dropped the Bugs Bunny cartoons. But it said on there that only 10% of the people who worked on the floors of stock exchanges are still employed today in that capacity.
Well, I can only tell you anecdotally if you have watched CNBC for a number of years, if you go back into the 1990s, you would see pictures of the stock exchange crammed full of people. Today, there is quite a bit of space on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, and there are fewer people working there. A lot of the trading is done off of the floor. So yes, there are fewer people doing that.
And I'm sorry,
Profession.
that went off topic kind of what you were saying, but I have sometimes a short attention span. And I just happen to remember seeing that before the movie yesterday.
Most trades are done electronically now, correct?
Well, there are a lot of block trades that are done off the exchange. I put trades in electronically, and those are routed through various broker dealers, some of which are on the New York Stock Exchange, and others of which are done elsewhere.
And there's some stock exchanges where they don't even have a floor, correct?
Well, that's what NASDAQ is. NASDAQ has always been basically computers, and prior to that, phones, where people called up and placed orders based on bid asks on the various stocks that were up there.
So some of the people who have really been hit hard by the changes in the economy are, for example, people who live in Lake Forest and owned seats on like the Midwest or SIBO, and those seats have lost value because they don't have traders there on the floor.
Well, I don't know that I can really speak to that. You are off topic.
I'm sorry, you're right. We'll go to. Let's stick to what we were talking about in terms of the way in which the economy has changed, and there's been a shift of wealth. Why do we have such a big shift?
There are a number of different theories as to why this is, but things, at least especially in the last 30 years, have tended to benefit the top 10%, especially the top 1%, more so than the rest of us. Manufacturing jobs have moved overseas. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is the fact that manufacturing, what we do manufacture here in the United States, is more than it's ever been. Because of productivity, it takes fewer of us to do it.
In other words, we have more mechanized production of things.
Exactly.
So robots are replacing people.
Okay, if you wanted to put a short one-sentence soundbite to it, yes, that
I'm
would
not
be.
even wanting to do a soundbite. I mean, realistically, on the assembly line in General Motors, for example, they have robots that actually have taken the place of what people used to do, moving the car through the assembly line.
Exactly. Now, where we are seeing shortages, and there was an article in today's Wall Street Journal that was talking about that, is if you take a look at the railroads, they're looking for diesel mechanics. They can't get enough of them. Their wages are actually going up, and it's very difficult to find people with specific skill sets. What corporations, it appears, are not willing to do is train people. They're looking for people who already have these skill sets. If you take a look at other countries, for example, Germany is an example of this, where companies will actually have in-house training, and they will train people to do certain jobs. And up until now, U.S. corporations have not been willing to do that.
Well, didn't we do that, though, a lot in terms of, wasn't that part of what unions did?
Yes, that was also mentioned in the article. We also have seen a withering of the vocational schools here in the United States. Specifically, there were, do you ever hear about shop classes at all in American high schools anymore?
I mean, I did when I was in high school.
Of course you did. We all did.
I avoided it.
Age.
I mean, I avoided it.
We had to take wood shop, we had to take metal shop in 7th and 8th grade, and we were probably one of the last groups of people to go through that particular course.
I took shop my 7th grade year, and I think that was the only course that I was forced to take like that. But I think, those skill sets are important. We need people with those skill sets. I'm not disputing that.
Exactly.
And we should be doing it within our educational system.
Well, yes, you are absolutely correct, because not everyone's going to go on to college, and many of the jobs today require maybe an associate's degree.
Have we overemphasized college? that we have too many people, maybe people going to college
That don't need to go to
that don't need to
college.
go to college, they're building up a huge debt.
The libertarian stance on that is exactly that we don't need to have as many college-educated people as we do right now. We need to train people to do other more mundane tasks that are important to the economy.
Like practice law.
Well, okay, from
All right. I'm kidding you on that, Dave. It is mundane, you got that part, so.
But at any rate, what this article was getting at was the fact that when you have skilled people, those people create other jobs for people who are less skilled in the economy in general. There are support functions for people who are not skilled, and because of that, that may add another 1.2%, I think it was, to the unemployment rates.
You have a lot of experience with Germany. You've traveled over there several times. You spent part of your educational experience was in Germany.
Sure.
And you had a bachelor's degree in German. So you're more than a little familiar with their society and their economy. Would that be correct?
Yes, that would be a fair assessment.
Okay. Do they have public education fully K through whatever a person can do?
Yes.
And Germans,
All through the university system, education is by and large, I'm going to put free in quotes here, society pays for it in general.
and that goes all the way through, somebody wanted to go to medical school, that would be paid for?
Correct.
So that the students that come out of that system don't have $100,000 or $200,000 in debt,
Yes.
or at least not from having to pay for their education.
Okay, yeah.
If they've got a gambling fix, that might be
That's
something
right.
different. Okay, so they've done that, and is there I know we got AP and coaches rankings for football and basketball. Is there any kind of ranking system for the economies of the world?
Yes, there is.
And I don't mean to sound silly.
I know. Germany at one point, this was in the last 2 years, was tied with China for being the largest exporting nation in the world. Now, if you think about that for a second, Germany has 80 million citizens. And they were competing with the likes of a country that has 1.2 billion people. That in itself is pretty phenomenal when you think about it.
Where did we rank in those same rankings?
We were down the list. We were like 4th or 5th.
Okay. But did we used to be number one?
That I can't answer.
Was there?
Many American businesses need to export but don't, and they are focused, I won't say solely, but largely on the domestic economy and doing business in the United States as opposed to trying to export their products.
Because we have a big market here, or we have historically.
Correct.
Well, then China was tied with Germany for number one.
Now, China is a low-cost producer. Germany has a highly educated workforce. From, as far as I can tell, this is still the case, from top to bottom, they have all the requisite people in place to do whatever skill set is necessary in the economy. Their unemployment rate right now is about 7%. And
We've got to cut it off there.
Okay,
We're
very
going to
good.
be back here in just a second.
Well, until the community